Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the live Ask Me Anything session with me about Swedish. I hope you all had a good week. This time, I thought we'd talk a little bit about plurals. So let me show you that screen I had thought about today. Let's see. So this is something that I usually teach in my courses. And it's typically in chapter 4 in the Rivstat that you go through these items. It's about food and food habits and verbs, as well as nouns in plural. And when it comes to the nouns, and when it comes to the plurals, we have 5 groups of nouns. There's the N words, which are the group 1, group 2, and group 3. And then you have the group 4 and 5, which are for et words. So I can make a mark here. And et words, group 4 and 5. Right? And as you can see, we have the 4 different denominations. We have inarticulate singular, we have articulate singular, and then we have inarticulate plural and articulate plural for all the different groups here. Now, the very first group is the most regular of all the groups. And as you can see, you have OR in the end of the plural for the group 1. And the way we know that it's going to be an OR is if you have typically the N words that ends on an A, like here. So en kaka, that will become kako in plural. So if it ends on A, then you'll get the most regular OR in plural. And the other one here, kakan, that's the articulate of the kaka, so you add the N there to that. And in the plurals, you add NA for the articulate on the kako OR format. For group 2, this is slightly less regular. And that's the type of, there's a subgroup to this, but the most common type is the one that ends on a consonant, like a K here, en lök, en cykel. So they're both consonants, right? And what you get with that is the AR in plural, right? So you get en lök becomes löka, and cykel becomes cykla. And of course, with the these type of nouns, with the hard Ks, you typically end with an EN, or in the case of the L, it becomes ELN, because it's simpler to pronounce in articulate form. For the singular and for the plurals, you simply add an A as well, the same way as with the group 1. There is a subgroup of these if it ends on not an A, but another vowel, like for instance, E, then you also get AR. So that's another variation of this group 2. Right. And then there's also a third subgroup, which is the type of words which ends on the suffix ing, dom, and lek. So, for instance, en tidning, that would become also AR, tidningar. So all of these are actually the same group here. And then we have the group 3, and these are international words that typically also end on a consonant, but it can end on a vowel as well. But the important thing is that they have the emphasis in the end if it's an international word, or if it's very short, then it ends on a consonant. So either consonant or emphasis in the end, like banan, café. Right. So the group 2 ends on consonants. Group 1 ends on A. And then the international words have the emphasis in the end. That's the kind of the important, that's the bigger part. The majority of the group 3 words, they have the emphasis on the end here. So anyway, if you have the ones that ends on consonants, the plural suffix is er, so you get nötter instead of en nöt. And banan, that becomes banana, er in the end. It's café becomes caféer, also er in the end. And again, with the articulate form plural, you add na to the already existing plural. So that's simple. As for the et words, there's 2 groups. So there's the ones that ends on vowels. And the ones that end on consonants. Let's see if there's anyone following. And for the group 4, these are the words that ends on vowels, right? So for instance, you have ett äpple, that becomes äpplen in plural. So you simply add an n. And for the group 5, you have the ones that don't change. So typically they end on consonants when they don't change. So that's how you know the difference. So the äpple ends on e, hence you add an n, and it's a group 4 word. If it ends on a consonant like a d here, ett bröd, then you don't change it in plural. It becomes the same. Ett bröd, många bröd. One bread, many breads. However, ett äpple, många äpplen. And both of these are because it's et words, right? And then you have, of course, additional exceptions for the group 5. They're the ones that refers to different persons. Or people. Typically, originally. So en lärare, that's a person. This is an N word, but it will follow the same rules as the group 5. So you will get en lärare, många lärare, many teachers. En spelare, so the ARE, right, suffix, will get you många spelare, many players. And the same with the hamburgare, so that originally meant the person from a Hamburg, but of course nowadays it refers to the the cuisine, the hamburger you eat. So that in hamburgare, många hamburgare. And you also have it for the ones that are like iker, that's like a musician. We could say en musiker, the same here, musikern, and then många musiker, and musikerna, like that. And then there's a variation with the IER. And croupier, många croupier, like the ones that are dealers in casinos. So there you have the basic setup for all the plurals in Swedish. Now we can take, there are some exceptions. Let's take a look at those. So here we have a page of exceptions. Några vanliga specialfall. So we have, for instance, en dotter. These are German loan words, right? And so then you get the vowel changes. So going from O, you get to That's a typical change with the German loan words. So en dotter becomes många döttrar. En son becomes söner. And far becomes fader. So if it's an O, it becomes an Ö. If it's an A, it becomes an Ä. And that's the rule for these. Yeah. And far becomes många fäder, many fathers. And mor becomes många mödrar, many mothers. And I should put it on the simple here. And bror becomes många bröder, many brothers. And man, många män. And you can tell these are, of course, about family relations. But you also have the ones that are about your body parts, anatomy. So you have ett öga, that's already an Ö, so it doesn't shift. It becomes många ögon. But you have the ON in the plural. And ett öra, många öron. So there's variations depending on, it's either ER or AR here for the relations, or a simple N. There are special cases. And for a tand, you do get the vowel change because you have the A that turns into an Ä. Många tänder, right? And fot becomes, an O becomes Ö, so många fötter. Again with the Ä here, and hand, många händer. And you also have for a few other items that we have gotten with from the German language, like ett land, många länder. En bok, många böcker. With a vowel change. So there are a few of those to consider. And are good to know as you get into the Swedish language here. Okay, so let's see. Let's take a look at some of the there's a few exercises here on this. And this is a saying. It says, man lär så länge man lever. You learn as long as you live. One of those good old sayings. And then we have some examples of what we looked at before here. We have the N words, the group 1 with the OR. How you shift that. So what you need to do is you strike the A from the first inarticulate singular, and then you add OR. So en-lista becomes listo. And that means, of course, a list. And an olycka, you strike the A, you add OR, and then you get olyckor, which is accidents. Yeah, these are in plurals. And next example is en flaska, but all of these end on A, right? So what you do is the same thing. You strike the A, add OR, you get flasko, which is bottles. Right. And so that's the group 1. Could put a 1 there for group. And then we have the group 2, but these are the exception types with an E in the end. So it's the second subgroup of the group 2. So if you have the E, you strike the E, and you add AR. So en ljusstake, that becomes an AR form. So you strike the E, add AR, get många ljusstakar. That's candle holders. And similarly with the en timme, which is an hour, strike the E, add AR, get många timmar, many hours. And then we have the group 3 here, which is a person and person, same as in English. Since this is the group 3 and ends on a consonant, you simply add ER here. Something you need to remember to not strike anything here. So, and then you get persona, which is people, many persons, right? Same with minute and minut, ends on a consonant. It's a group 3. Typically a long word, add ER, get minutes, minuter, många minuter. And then we get into the et words. So again here, if it ends on a vowel like O or A, with kvitto and hjärta, you simply put on the N. No striking. Ett kvitto, många kvitton, many receipts. And ett hjärta, många hjärtan, many hearts. Yep. Let's take a look here. All right, and then so these ends on vowels. That's where you get the added N. But if it doesn't end on a vowel, you have a consonant, ett fönster, that's a window, then no change. Många fönster, many windows. Same with år, also ends on R. It's an et word, hence no change. Many years, många år. Ett år, många år. All right, so let's take a look at some of the examples here. Here we have another list of AR or ER. So this is really just to tell you that sometimes it can be difficult to know because both of them ends on a consonant. Is it going to be an AR or ER? So these are the kind of words that you kind of need to learn by heart, which it is, because it's difficult for you to know which is a loan word and which is not a loan word from at some distant point in time. But en båt, en ring, en dag, and tjuv, these are considered the more regular original Swedish words, whereas we have en färg, en sak, en gång, en risk. These are the more loan words, and some of them can be German loan words from medieval time, like en sak, ein Sache, right? Ein Farbe, I think, and then ein Gang, ein Risch. So these are at some point have been a loan word. And then we add ER to the consonant here. And so let's take a look at some of these plurals here. We have a list of singular forms here. Now, what can we do to make them into plurals? Well, here, for instance, in lista, that becomes lista because it ends on A, right? And the A words are the ones that we shift with OR. Same here with en flaska. What's that? That's right. It ends also with the OR in plural. So en flaska, många flaskor, right? Many bottles, right? And en pojke, so this one ends on E. It's going to be the second group, the sub category of that. So många pojkar, AR. En granne also ends on an E. Then it's going to be the subgroup there, många grannar, many neighbors. En cigarette, so it ends on a consonant, but hold on, it's an N word. Then we're going to get the group 3. En cigarette, många cigaretter, also probably a loan word here. Not something that was invented in Sweden. Like I said last time, in Sweden, we probably are one of the populations that smoke the least in Europe, with only 5% who are smokers. As for en apparat, it's also one of those loan words, apparatus. So that's going to be ER as well. Många apparater. Yep. And then we have ett äpple. So this is an et word, right? Ends on a vowel. Then what happens? We put on the N. Många äpplen. Right. Ett foto, that's an et word as well. And also ends on a vowel. Then what happens? That's right. We add the N. Många foton, many photos. Ett glas, it's an et word, but this one ends on a consonant. What happens in plural? No change. Ett glas, många glas. There we go. And then we have the problem. Also ends on a consonant. So that means same thing. One problem is equally problematic as many problems. Ett problem, många problem. Same thing. Nafsashi, as they say in Arabic. Okay. And then if we look at the other half of this exercise, it's the opposite. We're going to have to make plurals into singular. So let's see what we have time for here. Let's look at the first example. Here we have kvinnor. So that's an OR version. We can do it backwards here. So we look at OR, then we have to take away OR and add an A, right? So take away OR, add A, we get en kvinna. and that is the woman in Swedish. Right, and it's actually connected to queen. That's why they have the name of a queen for queen in English. It comes from the Nordic word kvinna. All right, so ett egg. What about that one? It's an ett word, and it has a consonant, so it's going to be the same. Många ägg. Sorry, I kind of gave it away there. It's going to be ett ägg from många ägg. So it doesn't change. That is also, of course, an egg in English. Let's see if we can finish this row here. So we have affärer, that's an ER, ER in singular. We take away ER, and we're going to leave the consonant. So många affärer becomes en affär. And we think of it typically as a store. It can mean more things in Swedish, like an affair, like between people and so on. Store is what we typically think of. Ljusstake, we know this one already. It's en ljusstake. That's a candle holder. En so många kyrkor, that's churches. So OR, take away A, or take away OR, add A, en kyrka. So that's one church. Right, like this. And then we have it's många smycken. This is piece of jewelry here. And you have en here. So this is on the same list as the E. So yeah, många smycken. It's actually ett smycke in singular. I think this one is a bit of a special case. It's actually the same as there are other variations that are similar to this, but it's ett smycke in singular. Yeah, it's an ett word, right? So the added n is taken away. And then we have sekunda, so that's an n word. So that's take away er, and then you get en sekund. Ett jobb, same as an ett, and ends on consonant, so it's going to be the same here. Ett jobb, många jobb, and penna, or. Take away or, add a, so you get många and penna. That's it, guys, for today. I hope you enjoyed this. If you were to have a class with me, we would talk about food and food habits as well. And you'd get to talk about many different foodstuffs. But I hope that was useful for you to understand a bit of this Swedish plural system today. And you're welcome to join me again for next week. We're going to continue talking about Swedish culture and various traditions we have in Sweden. What is typically Swedish? See you again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And I hope to see you again next week. And bye.